Welcome to SWP Ireland TV. This week we'll be discussing the trade unions, ex-case legislation and the hunger strike in Guantanamo Bay.
Well, it's very interesting what's happening with the trade unions and the workers at the moment, because when the bus air and drivers voted by over 80%, I think nearly 90%, to take strike action against this cost-cutting plan by the company, I think every worker and every unemployed person in the country could identify with their anger and with their reasons for having to act to defend their livelihoods, because their pay and conditions have been decimated over the years. And as many of them have said, they've paid all of the charges, the pension levies, the universal social charges, the extra taxes, now the property tax on top of it. And for to lose another £3,000 a year from their wages in order to make this company viable is absolutely a step too far. And what's interesting is that one of the reasons the company are saying they have to do this is because they've suffered a 25% cut in government subvention. And this really goes to the heart of the issue of public transport in this country, and why, when there's a strike in one company like Bus Air and you see solidarity action and support in another company like Dublin Bus or Irish Rail, or indeed hopefully into the Lewis, because public transport by its nature has to be subvented by the state and by the system in order to provide a public service which is absolutely essential. It is not just about the viability of the company, it's about society's attitude to public transport and indeed to public transport workers. So it's really interesting how this strike may indeed open the lid on the genie's bottle, and the government will be terrified of that happening. And I think that they're mostly terrified that this will hamper them getting Croke Park 2 deal through, because as we speak they have Kieran Mulvey trying to devise some magic solution to deal with the nurses and their pay cuts and the anger that you saw James O'Reilly face at the nurses conference over the weekend. But it's also important to say, I think in this context, that this is coming as a big surprise to the trade union leaders, who, if they had their way, would dissipate any notion of struggle or fight or solidarity or generalisation in this situation. So I think we're living in very, very interesting times, very challenging times, but we're beginning to see and smell the re-emergence of the strength of the rank and file movement in the trade unions. That hasn't happened for about 25 years, really, since partnership got a grip in this country. So it's extremely significant, and I think all of the support and solidarity that we can give that, the better. We make common cause with each other as workers, as unemployed, as pensioners, as people on the dole, students, etc. This is what's going to really make the difference in this country. With this bus strike, for example, straight away every workplace and every community should be organising collections for them. Getting down to the picket lines, showing your support, sending in messages to their Facebook pages, and most importantly giving them that material support through financial and donations.
Hi, I'm here with Hannah Clang from Action on X and the SWP City Centre branch. So now that the pro-choice movement has had time to look at the heads of bill of the legislation that the government has published, what is the response and the comments that have been made from the pro-choice movement about the bill?
Well, ever since before the bill was published, our demands had 5 demands, and those were that the legislation should include the risk of suicide as grounds for abortion, that no more than 2 medical practitioners should be needed to approve an abortion. We wanted statewide access and access to abortion if a fetus has a fatal abnormality, which means it can't survive outside the womb.
And if this bill goes through as it is, what do you think this would actually mean for women?
Well, what it means is that a woman who, for example, would have been raped and ended up pregnant, and in her desperation had to order the abortion pill online because she couldn't afford to travel or wasn't able to travel for some reason, she could face 14 years in jail, and that is a higher sentence than her rapist would have gotten.
So Hannah, what's the next step for the movement?
Well, in the short term, we're organising a protest on the 18th of May. It's at Central Bank Plaza at 4 o'clock. This is only a first step. Once we've gotten legislation in whatever form we may take, we want free, safe and legal abortion for women in Ireland. So the next step would be to repeal the 8th Amendment. So we're really urging people to come out next Saturday because the pro-choice movement is the majority in this country. Unfortunately, the anti-choice movement has been very vocal, and they have a lot of resources and money that we don't have. So they sometimes seem like they are the majority because they're much louder than us. But we have to stand confidently now and say we are the majority.
It's time for another good idea, bad idea. Good idea. Bad idea.
Hi, I'm here with Chris Boyd, who's an American socialist, and we're talking about the hunger strike in Guantanamo Bay. So Chris, what is actually happening in Guantanamo?
Well, basically, there's 166 detainees left in Guantanamo, and at the moment, according to the lawyers that represent them, the majority, over 100, are involved in a hunger strike and have been. It started on February 6th, but it's become about as well that the majority of the detainees, they have no charges against them. There's no evidence against them, and they've been in there for 11 years or more. So they just figure, you know, there's no way out of this other than this is my last protest.
So what is the state of the prisoners at the moment, and how are they being treated?
Well, they've been, the majority have been on, haven't had food since February 6th, though. Some are reported to be close to death. I think it's about 20 are being force-fed, which is in effect a form of torture itself. It involves strapping them from head to toe. They're beaten to be forced into so they can strap them down, and then they force a tube down their throats and force food into them. And even as well, they report, like, if they are taking water, but like they say the water is, they give them dirty water, and if they request like proper water, that they beat them up.
And what has President Obama said about this or done about this?
Well, it's interesting that this has actually forced Obama to say something about Guantanamo, but quite hypocritically he says, you know, that it's bad for America, implying that he can't close it tomorrow, which he obviously can.
So Chris, why do you think that the Irish media haven't really picked up on this story?
Well, I think it's because it would raise awkward questions about the Irish government's complicity in this whole thing. For instance, Shaker Amir, he's the only British resident. He's originally from Saudi Arabia. That's left. He's one of the hunger strikers. He was picked up or transported to Bagram Air Base and tortured there, and a confession forced out of him, and then renditioned through, quite possibly through Shannon Airport, where we know that they have done rendition flights.
So what can we do about this?
Well, already there's been solidarity protests in America, like New York, where people have dressed like the detainees, the garb that they like the iridescent orange suits that they make them wear, and also when they put black bags over their heads when they were renditioned. But as well, I think being Obama, it's coming with the G8 soon. It's one more reason to come out and protest against the G8 coming to Ireland.